Pain is a familiar companion. It doesn't scream at you, it whispers, informing you of where the structural integrity of your body has failed. At the bottom of the basement stairs, my hip was whispering loudly. It was a dull, thrumming ache that suggested a hairline fracture or perhaps something worse. My wrist, on the other hand, was shouting. It was bent at an angle that wasn't compatible with the laws of anatomy. I didn't make a sound. In my line of work, you learn early on that noise is a liability. If you're hurting, you keep it inside. If you're dying, you do it quietly. I lay there for a long time, the smell of damp concrete and laundry detergent filling my nostrils. Upstairs, I could hear the muffled vibration of the television. Game shows, applause. My son and his wife were celebrating their new ownership of my life. They thought I was a relic. They thought I was a piece of furniture that had outlived its usefulness. My name is Vincent Caruso. For 35 years, I was a ghost. To the neighbors in Cleveland, I was a retired contractor who liked his garden and his privacy. To my wife, Marie, I was the man who kept his word and walked away from the shadows for the sake of a quiet life. But to the men in the back rooms of Newark and Jersey City, I was the cleaner. I was the man you called when the unthinkable happened, when a deal went south and left a mess on the carpet, when a body needed to cease existing. I didn't kill people. I erased the evidence that they ever existed. I was clinical. I was precise. I was the master of bleach, lie, and silence. Anthony, my son, never knew that man. He knew the man who coached his Little League games and taught him how to change a tire. He knew the man who wept at his mother's funeral 3 years ago. That gentleness, that domesticity, it was real. But it was a mask I wore so well that I eventually forgot the face underneath. Until tonight. Until my own blood decided that my house and my dignity were worth less than his gambling debts. I pulled my phone from my pocket with my good hand. The screen was cracked, but it still glowed. I didn't call the police. I didn't call an ambulance. I called a number that hadn't been dialed in decades. Marcus answered on the second ring. His voice was older, raspier, but the lethality was still there. I told him 3 words. "It's time, Marcus." Then I lay back and let the darkness take me for a while, drifting back to the days when I was the one holding the mop. Back in the 80s, the world was different. It was louder, messier. I worked for the DeMarco family. They were old school, but they were sloppy. My job was to fix the sloppy. I remember a night in '84, a penthouse in Manhattan. 3 men, a suitcase of money that wasn't there anymore, and a lot of blood on Italian marble. Most people see blood and they panic. They see the end of their lives, the beginning of a prison sentence. I saw a chemistry problem. I saw pH levels, surface porosity, and the clock. You have to work fast with marble. It's a stone that remembers. If you don't neutralize the hemoglobin quickly, it leaves a shadow, a ghost of a stain that no amount of scrubbing will ever remove. I spent 12 hours in that penthouse. By the time I left, the marble was pristine. The air smelled of nothing but lemon and ozone. The bodies were gone, dissolved in vats of acid in a warehouse in Queens. I was a professional. I never took sides. I never asked questions. I just cleaned. That was the rule. That was the life. Then I met Marie. She was a nurse at a clinic where I'd gone to get a stitch in my side, a memento from a job that got a bit too physical. She looked at me and she didn't see a ghost or a cleaner. She saw a tired man. She told me I had kind eyes. Nobody had ever said that to me before. I fell for her with a violence that terrified me. When she found out what I did, she didn't scream. She didn't leave. She just sat me down and gave me an ultimatum. The life or her. She told me she wouldn't raise a child with a man whose hands smelled of bleach and copper. So I walked. I went to DeMarco and told him I was done. He respected me enough not to kill me, but he told me I'd never be able to truly leave. "You're a fixer, Vincent," he'd said. "Once a fixer, always a fixer. You just haven't found the next thing that needs fixing yet." For 35 years, he was wrong. I was a husband. I was a father. I worked construction, built houses instead of erasing the people inside them. We moved to Cleveland. We had Anthony. I watched him grow up, and I saw the softness in him. I thought I'd succeeded. I thought I'd bred the poison out of the family line. But softness can rot into something else if it isn't tempered with character. After Marie died, the rot in Anthony became visible. It started with the requests for money, a car repair here, a credit card bill there. Then Brittany entered the picture. She was sharp like a shard of glass. She saw the house, the equity, the quiet old man with the pension, and she saw an opportunity. They moved in under the guise of taking care of me. "We're family, Dad," Anthony had said. "We should be together." I was lonely. I missed the sound of life in the house. So I said yes. That was the moment the mess started. They began small. Moving my things to the basement, complaining about my presence. Then the documents started appearing. I'm old, but my eyes are still trained to spot the things people want to hide. I found the papers in Anthony's desk, Summit Property Holdings, a shell company. They had forged my signature on a quitclaim deed. They had stolen the roof over my head, but it was the other document that chilled my blood. A loan agreement with Apex Capital. $340,000. I knew that name. Apex was the front for Alexei Volkov. The Russians. They were the new breed. No honor, no rules, just math and cruelty. Anthony had borrowed from the worst people on earth to fund a lifestyle he couldn't afford and to pay off gambling debts he was too stupid to win back. He had used my house as collateral for a debt he could never pay. I watched them for weeks after that. I watched Brittany wear her new jewelry, bought with the blood of my home. I watched Anthony drink himself into a stupor every night, avoiding my gaze. I waited for them to come to me. I waited for the confession, the apology, the plea for help. It never came. Instead, they decided that I was the liability. If I was gone, the house was theirs. No questions asked, no senile old man to contest the signature. Tonight, at dinner, I told them I knew. I told them I'd seen the papers. I didn't yell. I spoke with the clinical detachment of the cleaner. Anthony's face went white. Brittany's went red. She was the one who started screaming. She called me a parasite. She told me I was standing in the way of their future. Anthony just stood there shaking. When I turned to walk away to go to my room and call the lawyer I'd already consulted, he moved. He didn't mean to kill me, I think. He just wanted the problem to go away. He pushed me. He pushed his own father down 13 concrete steps, and then he listened to his wife laugh as I lay broken at the bottom. I woke up when I heard the heavy engines outside. Not the sound of an ambulance, but the low thrum of black SUVs. I managed to pull myself into a sitting position, my back against the cold stone wall. My hip was afire and my wrist was a dull throb, but my mind was clear. The fixer was back. Upstairs, the front door didn't just open, it exploded off its hinges. I heard the screams. Brittany's high-pitched screech, Anthony's panicked begging. Then I heard the voice I expected. Marcus. He wasn't alone. I heard the heavy footfalls of men who move with purpose. The basement door creaked open, and light flooded the stairs. Marcus stood there, silhouetted against the glow. He looked down at me, and I saw the flash of anger in his eyes. He'd brought the cleaners, but not for me, for the situation. They carried me up the stairs with a gentleness that was almost insulting. They sat me in my favorite armchair in the living room. The room was full of people. My son and his wife were on the floor, their hands zip-tied behind their backs. Standing over them were 4 men I didn't know, and one I did, Alexei Volkov. He was sitting on my sofa, looking at his fingernails. He looked up when I was brought in. "Vincent," he said, his voice like grinding stones, "Marcus tells me you've been retired." "I told him I was," I replied, my voice raspy but firm, "until your people started trying to move into my living room." Volkov looked at Anthony, who was sobbing. "This is your boy? He's a disappointment. He borrowed a lot of money, Vincent. He told me the house was his. He lied to me. I don't like being lied to." I looked at Anthony. He looked pathetic. He looked like a mess that needed to be scrubbed away. Marcus stood next to me. "What do you want to do, V?" he asked. "We can make this very quiet. No shadow, no stain." I looked at Brittany. She wasn't screaming anymore. She was staring at me with a look of pure, unadulterated terror. She finally saw the face under the mask. She realized that the old man she'd been mocking was someone far more dangerous than the thugs she'd helped her husband borrow money from. I thought about the $340,000. I thought about the stairs. I thought about Marie's promise. "I want the house back," I said. "I want the deed returned to my name, legally and permanently." Volkov nodded. "That is easy. The debt is still there, though." I looked at my son. "He is my blood," I said. "But blood is just another liquid that can be cleaned up. He owes you the money, Alexei. He will pay you, every cent. But he won't do it with my house. He'll do it with his life. Not his death, but his life. He and his wife will work for you. Whatever you need, cleaning, driving, the low-level filth. They will pay back the principal and the interest until they are gray. And if they stop, or if they try to run, then you do what you do." Volkov smiled. "A debt of labor. I like that. It's more profitable than a funeral." He looked at Anthony. "You heard the man. You're mine now." Marcus looked at me. "You sure about this, Vincent? It's a long time to be looking over your shoulder." "I won't be looking over my shoulder," I said. "They're leaving tonight. They are never to set foot on this property again. They are dead to me." And as for Volkov, he knows that if anything happens to me, Marcus has the files I've been keeping for 35 years. The names, the dates, the locations, the things I cleaned. Volkov's smile didn't reach his eyes, but he nodded. A professional arrangement. I respect it. They cleared out within the hour. They took Anthony and Brittany with them, dragging them out into the night. My son didn't even look back. He was already gone. Marcus.